Welcome to the Family Journey Show, brought to you by Finally Home. Each month, we'll be live with conversations between our Finally Home team and leading experts. Our mission is to provide you with the insights, strategies, and encouragement you need to navigate the unique challenges and joys of your family journey. Whether you're a foster parent, an adoptive caregiver, or a kinship guardian, this show is designed with you in mind. We'll be diving deep into topics that matter most to you, from managing big emotions and building strong family bonds to accessing mental health resources and advocating for your children's needs. So, grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's embark on this journey together. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Welcome to the Family Journey Show, where support, community, and resilience grow strong roots.
Welcome to Finally Home's Family Journey Show, where we talk about things that are important to families like ours. I'm Kristin, Orphan, co-founder and creative director of Finally Home, and my husband Mark and I started Finally Home in 2008 with the mission to encourage and equip foster, adoptive, and kinship families. And our purpose in doing this show is to introduce you to some great friends of Finally Home and to pass along helpful tips and tools that will equip you on your journey. We want you to know that we're a resource for you and that you're not alone. So please check us out at finallyhome.net to learn more. My husband Mark and I are foster, adoptive, and kinship and biological parents to 4 adult children and 1 extended family member. 3 out of 5 of our kids benefited from an individual education plan, or IEP, as we call it here in the state of Colorado. We learned often the hard way how to advocate for our kids in order to help them get what they needed to be successful in school. And what you and I know is that our kids spend so much of their lives in school. How they feel about themselves at school plays a huge role in how they feel about themselves, period. So school also represents a potential community of support, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We want to equip you for how to ask for help. And we want to say up front right now that we know some of you are joining us today weary and overwhelmed because you have not yet gotten what you believe your kids need at school. So today's about giving you some tips from experts in the field and inviting you to reach out to Finally Home for support and encouragement in this area and others.
And I'm Linda Motter. I am Finally Home's Family Support Director. I'm also a mom of 2 teenage girls. And prior to this position, I was a school teacher and a school counselor and a parent educator and a parent coach. And all of that to say, I've had the benefit of seeing today's topic from many different seats. Now, what we have often found through the years and working with families like ours is that we often struggle feeling connected to our child's school. We don't really always know what our schools can do to support us, or we might feel intimidated, embarrassed, or as Kristin said, weary. But it's Finally Home's desire to support foster, adopt, and kinship families by connecting them to resources that are available, and we believe that the school can be one of your greatest resources. So we really hope that this episode sort of breaks down the barriers and helps us build up the strong connections between home and school. So I'm very excited today to introduce you to our 2 guests. Our first guest today is Melissa Vasa. Melissa is a counselor at the Timnath Middle High School in the Poudre School District. Melissa is in her 20th year as a school counselor. She has also been a student leadership teacher and has also taught Spanish and French. And she is the mother of 2 amazing boys. Our second guest is Sheila Bowman. Sheila is currently the elementary school principal at a new elementary school in the Weld RE4 school district. Prior to this position, she has been an online school principal, instructional technologist, and an enrichment teacher. And really fun news, in 2022, she was voted as the Administrator of the Year in her school district. Sheila is also the mother to 3 adult children. Bottom line, these 2 ladies have a lot of experience and perspective, which is why we're very excited to have them on today's show. So welcome, Melissa and Sheila.
Thank you, ladies, for being here. We just want to say how much we appreciate you taking time on a school day to have this conversation with us. It's obvious in the time that we've spent with you already that you really care about families and you care about kids. So let's start with the first steps. It's a new school year for all of us. So what can parents and caregivers do to build a healthy, positive relationship and open line of communication with their school?
I'll jump in as the family school counselor on this one. I think school counselors are really passionate and excited to develop those relationships with families at the start of the year. So just a little plug for your school counselor there. I think that's a great first point of contact to reach out to as we begin figuring out, what that community should look and feel like for you, your family, and your student as the school year gets started.
So, Melissa, what you're saying is that our schools, and specifically school counselors, would want us to go in proactively even before there's an issue or challenge.
Absolutely. A lot of times, the more that we know and can understand about a student and family's individual situation, the more we can proactively start to connect those dots, build supports, find resources, all of those kinds of things. We want to respect and honor what families want too, as far as their level of comfort and what they want to share. And we welcome the proactivity and the reaching out and connecting and starting that conversation.
Okay. Absolutely. And I would add that, schools just really want to partner with families to make sure we're providing everything that student needs and also what that family needs. I've had the privilege this year of opening a brand new elementary school, which is a unique opportunity, and I'm so grateful for it. But everybody's new here. We have 550 students that we are just getting to know, who all come with a story. And so it's so helpful. It's been so helpful over the first 4 weeks of school to get to meet with families as they come in and just share their stories. And I just think of a story that happened just yesterday where my assistant principal came in to me and said, gosh, this little buddy we had was really just having a rough time at school. And so she said, Sheila, this is why we call home and this is why we partner with families, because as she got called to talk to the family, they found out, that this little buddy's going through a lot of trauma. Their whole family's going through a pretty traumatic situation, which is leading to the behaviors that we're seeing at school. And so just knowing that, we can come alongside with empathy and love and support for that family and look at those behaviors vastly differently than we would had we not known that about the kiddo. And so I just really think it's important to make the point that the more we can partner with families, and we don't expect you to tell us the whole story, but if you can just come introduce yourselves and just give us a little bit of information so that we can support you. That's what we really, really want and strive for.
That's good. Sheila, thank you for sharing that story. I think it's a great example of how just a little bit of information can go a long way in building the understanding and therefore the approach and building that relationship. Talk to us a little bit more about generally what is available in a school for kids who may struggle in any area, whether that's academically, socially, or emotionally.
Mm-hmm. I would say academically, we have a lot of interventions that are often already in place for students that we're trying, to make sure that they are meeting their academic goals. So we have a great group of interventionists and special education teachers, and even general education teachers are trained to make sure that that's really the goal of going to school, is to meet those academic goals. But we also realize that the mental health piece of that and the social emotional piece and even the physical piece, making sure kids are fed and making sure they have what they need so they can learn, making sure that they are stabilized emotionally so they're able to take what we're teaching them academically. We have so many supports in place at school at the classroom level. We have amazing school counselors like Melissa is representing today. We have, we offer therapists like physical therapists, occupational therapists. I think sometimes parents don't understand all the resources that a public school can offer that go untapped. And, there's just so many ways that we can connect them into the community. I even think of we have wonderful churches that have partnered with our school that provide things like backpacks and school supplies and food and gift cards to families that are struggling, that just need a little boost. And so we have all of those people just pouring into our school, and then it's our job to help connect and give those resources out. So just a few I can think of. I'm sure Melissa has more she can add to that.
I second a lot of that, Sheila, or actually all of that. And Linda, I'm glad you broke it into those three categories of social, emotional, and academic, because those are such three core pieces of just ensuring positive growth and success for the whole child, right? Not just the student. And so that's important for us as a school too, and for every school. And we have different resources and interventions that can meet needs in those three different areas. So I think a lot of times even just asking like, hey, I noticed my students really struggling with geometry. What resources do you have? Even just asking that question. A lot of times there are intervention classes or student to student peer programs that we're running, or things like that can really help intervene and provide some boosts and some support where there's a struggle. And same with social and emotional. We've got different counseling groups running. We've got a mental health specialist in our building. We've got a school psychologist, a lot of different resources we can tap into there as well. And one of the things I actually love about my job is problem solving. Student needs are so unique, right? There's not like a one size fits all solution to every problem. And so I love too just learning about what that struggle is, and then seeing what resources we might have to meet the struggle, but also what can we come up with creatively together to help support that student in whatever area of help that it is that they're needing.
Wow. I'm really encouraged to hear about all of the great things that your schools and your districts provide. I do want to also point out what Sheila said about churches. Not all schools have everything. And I think it's an incredible opportunity for our churches to contact local schools. So I'm just going to give a little plug for that right now to say, churches, we also can step up and pour in, because the school is a hub of community. It is kind of the heartbeat. It is where people are convening. And what an amazing ministry opportunity. The gift cards you mentioned to help with food and backpacks and school supplies and such. So I want to make sure, I don't want to miss that opportunity to say that we receive a lot from our schools. And I want to encourage those listening today also to be willing to pour into our schools for the benefit of our teachers and administrators, and of course the students and families. So please pay attention to that opportunity as well. So one thing I do want to clarify as you're talking, because as I had shared, I have experience with both IEP and 504 programs, these more kind of official labels or programs that my kids have participated in. But what some of the resources you're mentioning, are they only for people with that legal status, or talk a little bit more about that?
Thank you for clarifying. So those programs that you're talking about, 504s, IEPs, those are an intervention in and of themselves, right? And those are support systems already. So the things I'm talking about are really outside of that, when we need more, or maybe your student's not on an IEP or a 504 and they're just looking for some extra support in some different areas, or just other options. Maybe they're already getting the support with the 504, but we're still needing a little bit of extra. Or we're curious, the 504 might not be addressing a social need that you're identifying, and what are those resources available there? So for us in our realm, I'm really talking about resources outside of built-in support systems.
Mm-hmm. So that is great. So what you're saying is really any family can speak up and ask for what they need. And we don't always get everything we ask for. It is just really important to be able to speak up. And that happens to be one of Finally Home's values. So we know that schools and districts vary in what they're able to offer. So what if a school does not have a particular program or solution for your kid? What advice would you give our families?
I'll take that one. Sheila. Yeah. Okay. Like Sheila had said earlier, even when there are not specific resources or programs within a school building, we are often well connected with our communities, and we know, different places we can refer a family to, or different programs that community nonprofits or churches are offering. And we are always happy to help, again, build that connection and help people find what they need. And even if we don't know, sometimes we're in a great place to be able to ask, right? And it's nice to be able to even grow in our own knowledge and expertise when we're trying to help support a family as well.
And, please reach out to Finally Home as well if you're not able to find the help that you need with or through your school. We would love to partner with you, research what is available in your area, and in particularly maybe connect with the churches in your area that do really have a heart for families like ours. So in terms of speaking up and advocating for yourself, I have heard things like, we want you to be proactive, build those relationships, share what part of your story you're comfortable sharing, do it sooner than later. And Melissa, we heard you advocate well for the school counselors, and I second that. However, I'm wondering, are there other personnel that you would suggest families connecting to? Because is it different, like at the elementary versus middle versus high school?
So I would say at the elementary level, it's a little different because kids spend most of their day with their homeroom teacher. And so maybe that is the point person where you have had the most contact with. Maybe that's, find whoever you have a relationship with. So whether it be that homeroom teacher, or maybe you met the principal early on and you just know that you have some context that you want to deliver so that we can best support your child and share. I would just encourage you to go to them and just say, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time to share a little bit about my child and how things that are working at home and things that I just would like to see you try at school. We always welcome conversations like that. And that's where the relationship can start to build.
So those are really good suggestions. And I love that you talked about find your one person, because we're making some suggestions and we know schools are different, just like families are different, how they're staffed, how, just who's accessible, who you feel comfortable with. That's a really important point, to find the person that you feel connected with, that you just from even a personality style that you feel like you could sit down and have a conversation with and really be heard. And it doesn't have to be the person that you think it should be. It just needs to be one person that begins that connection that you can, start to build for the benefit of you and your kids. So I know that families like ours, I've certainly experienced this, start a new school year or even start into a new school. And we're often pretty tired of sharing our story over and over, especially the hard parts. We get a little bit weary of that. So I would just say, do you have any advice or encouragement with that particular issue? Here we go again. I got to go in and tell them all the struggles we've had and the problems that my kid has been. Oh, they probably already know, it's in their record or whatever. And just, can you give us a little perspective of what it's like on your side?
Yeah, man, I can imagine the stress and the hardship that can present with already all the overwhelming things of starting a school year. I can see how that can be a lot. And I would welcome families to not hold back in leveraging those relationships that already exist too. Sheila had said, find your one person. If there's someone in your school that you trust that already knows your story that can help do a little bit of that heavy lift for you, know that I've offered that in the past of like, you know what, let me not make you go through a whole nother round of explaining and sharing. How about you tell me what's okay to say and I will take care of that communication for you. A lot of times we have people in our buildings that can help support that so that, you're not feeling like you're having to kind of re-traumatize, every time that you're speaking to someone new. And again, sometimes you are starting in a new building. You're really trying to develop and build that trust. And that's where I would welcome you to even just name the weariness around it. I think sometimes that helps us handle that so much more tenderly. And also, sometimes we just feel better when we name the feeling that's attached to the task, right? Like, man, this is really hard. I struggle with this every year. So bear with me, but here's where I'm at, and then we can kind of help coach that conversation in a good, healthy problem solving way for what's best for your students. So I want to welcome and encourage that. And I know we talked a little bit about elementary school versus middle high, as we start to get older, we do want to encourage and empower those advocacy skills in our students. And so we welcome them to be a part of that conversation as well, to their comfort, to your comfort. We just want to help walk alongside them and help them have that voice in their story too. So that's the other thing I would offer up.
Right. And I would say, I would totally agree with that, Melissa. We just want to know what works for your kid and how we can best support them, like Melissa said. But I think another thing you can think about, if you don't want to just tell the story over again, if we can just come in and keep it real positive, like these are the strengths my student has. These are the things that we see at home when they really blossom. And these are the things that really ignite a passion in them. If you can keep it strengths based and really focus on that helps us just as much. What are some ways that we can pull out those strengths, when they're feeling, maybe if they're feeling down, we can, point those out, maybe let's take a break and go do some art, or go to the music room and play the xylophone, whatever it is that, those tools help us just as much as just knowing what maybe would trigger a kid or make them feel bad.
I like so much of what you guys are saying, and how beautifully it aligns with the curriculum and the ways that we teach through Finally Home as well, such as really go in with a list of positives, right? Starting with that strengths-based piece, because I think sometimes we go in and okay, I have been known to do this. I accidentally over dump like all of my child's story and like every possible need I have. And I don't necessarily need to do that. I can go in with, hey, here are the strengths of my kiddo. And then maybe let's focus on one area, right? One need. And being able to, particularly as a mother of teenagers, have those teenagers joining us. I think that's such a great idea, right? Because we want them to learn to speak up and advocate for themselves as well, and listen and hear the school side of the story as well. So many good little tidbits are hidden in what we all just said there, and kind of creating a process. It's sort of that hamburger process. Start with the positives. Here's the one need we're coming to you with, and then let's end with a good positive plan on how to support your kid.
Well, again, I think going in with a strengths-based approach, knowing that challenges will come. I mean, we're all, we know that, especially with our kids who struggle, they will come. And what I found is that when we're building relationship then with our school, we're just going to be more able to be on the same team. It's like, who I am, you can make that call and say, okay, we've hit some turbulence, or we've hit some struggles, and now we have this relationship, and we are much better positioned to work through those things. So we are realistic, and yet we can be both realistic and strengths-based. Absolutely. So one of the things also we want to recognize is in families like ours, that whether we're a foster parent who gets an overnight placement of a child or a young person, or a grandparent who unexpectedly now is the guardian, and that's something, of course, we're all seeing across our world, actually, not just our nation, is the fastest growing population of caregivers is our grandparents raising grandkids. So sometimes we're sending kids to school and we don't have history in terms of what their strengths are, what's going to help them. So what advice would you give to families who are listening, who are kind of walking into a school and saying, okay, I've got to sign them up for school, but in reality, they've just joined our family?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would just say again, just don't hesitate to reach out. Find your person, find one person at the school, and just let them know that this this kiddo is going to need some extra tenderness, some love and compassion while they adjust to everything that's changing in their life right now. And just that one piece of information that you can give, we're having a big transition here. We don't know how long it's going to last, but we just want to love on this kid while we've got him. And we're going to do the same thing at school if we know that. So just be honest and let us know that. And we'll just invite us along to go on that journey with you, because we want the same thing for that child. We just want them to feel loved and supported and welcomed while they're with us.
I second that. And building that first conversation really starts to help establish those relationships and that trust. And I would also say, new students start at new schools all the time, right? And teachers have their routines and they're welcoming their new students. But man, when a teacher knows that not only is this a new student walking into my classroom, but they've also changed households and maybe there's other things going on that we haven't quite figured yet, the teacher knowing that can change their tone and tenderness in such a way that can be really powerful. And I think that information is important. And we don't know if no one tells us. And so really encouraging that heads up before our student even gets started so that we can really give that extra love and care is important.
I think that it's really important to, now I'm speaking to parents, caregivers, grandparents, that the schools only know what we tell them. So in other words, when a child is coming into a new situation, and as Melissa said, new students join schools all of the time, and there may be just some standard innocent questions that teachers would ask that actually would be pretty upsetting to our kids. And so it does fall on us, to the best of our ability, to help educate the administration, the teachers, anyone who's going to be interacting with our students, whether it's asking about their family, asking innocent questions that for the most part would be perfectly acceptable, asking about a mom or a dad, or what brought you here to this place, and just questions even that we've discussed in the past about asking, for baby pictures and those sorts of things. We want to, as parents, caregivers, and grandparents, to also, as a part of our conversations, help to educate some of those possibly pitfalls or traumatic questions that will not be helpful for our students. And the only way for schools to know that is if we tell them. And that's something that we have to take responsibility for and realize that they are doing their best, they being the schools, and that we need to be a part of the team as well in equipping them to serve our kids and our youth well.
Okay, so I know that the four of us are sitting in the Northern Colorado area, but I also know that the two of you are very connected to educators probably all around the country. And I'm just curious a little bit on how much training are you seeing our teachers and our school staff getting on trauma-based behavior?
I can tell you more and more. It's I've been doing this for a little while, and I would say every year there's more professional development being offered, not just to mental health staff, but to teachers as well, because how we're approaching students, not knowing their trauma backgrounds can have a profound impact. And so I know in Northern Colorado, it's becoming more and more a routine part of teacher training, teacher development. And I know that I've even gone to some national conferences, and it's a little bit of a buzzword too of like, all right, are you taking a trauma-based approach here? So I would say that that's getting more and more valued and visible as time goes on.
Sheila, what are you seeing from the administration side in terms of trauma? That's a big issue with families like ours in this approach. How you, as Melissa said, how you approach students is different when you consider trauma and triggers. What are you seeing on the administration side? And as Linda said, nationally?
So from the administration side, it is absolutely one of our focuses that I hear, not only in my school district, but across the country too, at conferences I go to. In fact, I just want to put a plug in. I've been to a lot of trauma-based trainings as an administrator, both locally and nationally. And I have to say the Hope for the Journey conference that I was able to attend this last May in my hometown, which was wonderful, but at a church that we go to, it was fantastic and probably gave me more skills and strategies that I can make sure to employ with my staff here. And so I think that's the beauty of it is when administrators are and counselors and people that are training general ed teachers, when we get to go to these types of conferences and work together and try to train each other up, it's a trickle down effect for sure. And it I think our main goal is to just give teachers strategies and think about, just like you talked about earlier, Kristin, about, just think before you ask kids to bring pictures when they were babies, or let's draw a family tree. I think that can be so triggering and traumatic for kids that just don't have a typical family situation. And so it's really empathy and how do we come alongside and help each other be more empathetic in our approach to these children.
That's so good. Do either of you have any suggestions, though, for any of our parents who find that their child's teachers or schools maybe don't have a lot of access or training in trauma-based approaches? I know we have, resources and we can recommend if that is true for anybody watching this, if you need some help with that. But I would love to hear what you two as school professionals would suggest to those families who are coming up against a staff that maybe isn't very informed on trauma-based behaviors.
I would say, as an administrator, I would want to hear the heartbeat of my community. And if that's something that, you feel is lacking in your school district, like I would start either with this administrator or the school counselor. I just think there's so many resources that don't cost a lot of money, that there's free resources online that administrators can use to learn themselves and then, offer professional learning for their staff. I wouldn't hesitate to reach out and say, gosh, tell me what you're doing to help your staff be more prepared and more empathetic. And if they don't know, I would point them, like, Google it. There's so many resources out there available.
I would second that. There's so much available online to help families and teachers navigate that. And then it's kind of a beautiful thing when we can pair and marry. All right, here's what a trauma-based approach would look like for my student. And here are, that strengths-based approach, trauma-based lens. Here are the things that would work together to help, ensure student growth and success.
That is really good. And I love this idea of helping one another grow, bringing perspective that, we always say families are the experts in their situation and their kids. And then we need to recognize all of the expertise and opportunity to learn and grow from our schools. And, in our program that, Linda referred to, we call it MAP for Healthy Families. And we teach, speak up, listen, and cooperate. And we always say when we balance these skills, we have the best chance at building healthy connections and finding solutions. And we've talked a lot today about advocating for our kids. And we're going to say it again, please speak up at your school. But let's also make sure we're listening. Let's make sure that we are being willing to see our child through the eyes of their teachers, that we are being willing to open to, what's the school suggesting. When we can speak up and listen, we have a better chance at moving into the third skill of cooperation. And all of you who are listening today, we know that everybody's kind of coming in from different experiences. And as we recognized at the very beginning, some of us who, we're starting a new school year and we've had kids who struggle and we're like, here we go again, homework, pressure, and everything. I want to, first of all, just say how grateful we are that these two incredible women have joined us today. We think they represent the best of the best and the positive. And we also truly believe that there's one, at least in your school, someone who cares so very deeply, or they wouldn't be doing what they are doing, that you would find someone that you would be willing to be a help. And I'm just going to say it again, churches who are listening, please, nonprofits who are listening, serve your schools. Go to your schools and serve those teachers, serve the administrators who are pouring out to our families. It's kind of this circle. And when we're all willing to do our part and pour in, everybody benefits. And as we recognize, schools and churches, in my core belief, they're the heartbeat of our communities. And when we can all work together for the benefit of the family, everybody wins. And so we do want to encourage you and remind you again to reach out to Finally Home.
Our prayer for all of you that are tuning in is that you find at least one person at your school to listen to your story, to come alongside you as you journey through this thing called family life. As we've said, if you want to learn more about this topic or you need any kind of support, please contact us. You can connect with info@finallyhome.net, and my team would be happy to connect with you. So that's all for this episode. We look forward to being with you next month as we talk about good authority, parents as leaders and role models.
So we're going to wrap up our time by doing what we've been encouraging you to do, which is pray. Let's pray together. God, we're so grateful for these women who have given their time, who give their heart and soul to the work they do to serve families and kids. We are praying for our teachers this year, school administrators, school counselors, all of the resource people. We're praying for them that they would receive what they need in order to serve families. We're praying for families and kids and parents, caregivers, grandparents, for the energy, for the clarity to speak up in healthy, respectful ways, for them to find the resource, the exact resource that they need for their students to be successful. And we're praying for all of our students for protection of their hearts, of their minds, that they would grow this year in what they're learning, both about themselves, about the world, and even about math. We're just excited for the opportunity for them to learn, and we want to bring the best out of each one of them. So thank you so much for bringing us together for this conversation and for all those who will listen. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So please make sure to hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when we publish a new video. We will be live each month for the Family Journey Show, as well as sharing additional resources in between that you won't want to miss out on.